Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to the Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley. This is episode number 52. This will be a most unique episode of this podcast, that's for sure. In some ways, I'll do what I usually do some storytelling, talk to some fascinating people, but I'll also be getting out of my comfort zone a little bit. More on that in a moment. This month of October 2025 marks the 60th anniversary of the invention of Gatorade. The world's most superior sports drink was created by Dr. Robert Cade and a team of scientists at the University of Florida in 1965. They were looking to help the football team overcome dehydration. And of course, that took off in ways that none could have imagined. During the first weekend of this month, the home football game against Texas specifically, Gatorade and its legacy, its inventors, and really all involved with the success of that product are to be honored at the University of Florida as a part of a large celebration. I thought we'd mark the anniversary of Gatorade on this podcast too, but do so from a bit of a different angle, maybe from the start and really how it impacts today as well. We'll tell a story from the origins of Gatorade, and we'll talk about the ongoing impact of Gatorade in maybe a way you didn't expect. Back in 1965, Dr. Cade and his team were developing this new product, an electrolyte drink. The immediate benefactors would, of course, be the University of Florida football team. So who better than the football players to test out the product? Back in 1965, freshmen were not allowed to play on the varsity football team. They were known as the baby Gators, the freshmen. That would be the test group for Dr. Cade and his team initially. And one of those baby Gators was a man named Chip Hinton. Hinton is now 78 years old. After his playing career at Florida, he went on to a phenomenal career in agriculture as a scientist himself. We will visit with Chip Hinton and get his first-hand account on what those days were like, how the process went, how he felt at the time, and what it means to him still even today. And then the part where I get out of my comfort zone a little bit. I'll be speaking with a scientist who's currently doing phenomenal work at the University of Florida in the medical school and science program. You see, in all the twists and turns of this story, the University of Florida has been able to benefit from not just the development of Gatorade and its worldwide fame, but financially through royalties. When Gatorade became a solid piece of the sports landscape and the science behind dehydration for athletes, a program was set up as to where Gatorade royalties would find its way back here home to the University of Florida to further ongoing research. Millions of dollars have gone into this program. And so I will get out of my comfort zone and visit with Dr. Christian Jobin, one of the researchers who's benefited from the Gatorade royalties, the work in his lab, and how it still today is an important piece of furthering the mission of Dr. Cade, his team, and the University of Florida. So no matter your favorite flavor of Gatorade, and remember, there was only one at the start, raise a glass. Join me here on the Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley as we mark the 60th anniversary of Gatorade from two different directions. The Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley is presented by UF Health. UF Health has locations throughout Florida, including Gainesville, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Leesburg, and the Villages, and we're growing. Compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. Visit ufhealth.org to learn more. And now, the podcast designed specifically for the congregation. Chip Hinton, let me ask you this question to start with. Chip, can you believe it's been 60 years since you were a freshman at the University of Florida?
Yeah, the body can tell it, the mind doesn't. But I definitely am always surprised that every time that people get in touch with me about the origins of Gatorade, because now, as you said, it's 60 years since I was a freshman, and it's been a good life. I have no complaints at all, and It may not have been all in football, but I certainly feel like I've fulfilled my purpose, and hopefully, if myasthenia gravis will back off of me, I'll be very happy to do something good for the community as well.
Well, wishing that for you as you continue to work your way through that over these years now, and that's been some time. But over the time of your freshman year, I want folks to understand that at that time, freshmen were not allowed to play in games. But yet your freshman year as a member of the Baby Gators was a little different, wasn't it?
Absolutely, as you have mentioned a little bit, it is the fact that Dr. Cade, on the first day that we were in practice of two-a-days, stopped by and talked with us about a hypothesis he had. So we had a situation where people were passing out, and some of them were actually having to be carried to Shands for treatment. And we didn't lose anybody, but we certainly had some people that were not happy. And he said that he might be able to save us from some of that mess, and we went with him. I have to admit that when we first saw him, that it was a little bit. He didn't have a great bit of credibility. He had smaller stature, did not look athletic at all, and we wondered by looking at him as we were standing in a semicircle around him and towering over him, whether he was someone that would be able to know enough about football to give us a hand. But that suspicion of ours was totally canceled immediately as he started working with us.
Did you volunteer, Chip, or were you told you were participating in the study?
There were two phases. The first phase, he hit us all, and it was not a volunteer situation. But what he did was he gave everybody a set of plastic gloves, and he was collecting the sweat in our hands. And then afterwards, he took the whole freshman team over to Shands, drew blood, and it took us several hours to do that. There were 33 of us, 30, I believe, that were on scholarship and 3 walk-ons. And we missed the training table, so he took us out for a steak dinner. It was like we just barely made curfew by the time we got in. And so he voluntarily reduced the group of people that were involved in the daily bloodletting and the capturing of the sweat. But as we got into it and we started seeing that there were certain, with a hypothesis, you have a situation where if it doesn't work, you try something else. And there were several editions of what was to become Gatorade. The first were terrible. And his wife said, if you can't get them to drink it, you're not going to help them. And so they started squeezing lemons at night as they started working through it. And then as they got better, he started trying to work with the entire team on a regular basis, entire freshman team. And by the time we got to Thanksgiving, it was a very palatable product. It wasn't anything like what it was, eventually became, but it was something that we could drink and we could not have problems with keeping it in our mouth, And there was a situation about that time. This is getting close to Thanksgiving, and all of us. This is the first time the freshman team had a chance to go back home, which was over Thanksgiving, and we were told that we needed to, before we went, we had to play the B team. We affectionately called them the Udders because Coach Gray said, bring the other team in here when he wanted them to come in to replace the first string. And we were, of course, with the Baby Gators, which we didn't really care to be called, but, when you come in and you're required to sing your alma mater before you can eat, you're pretty humbled. And so they outweighed us maybe 20 pounds per person. So we were a little bit concerned, but we definitely knew that we could go hand to hand with them because we practiced against them too. And as we got into the situation, we realized that we had an advantage that they didn't. We were drinking Gatorade, and they were not, and so we sort of we thought they were going to murder us, and we murdered them in the third and fourth quarter. And that's the first time I think it dawned on people, including maybe Dr. Cade, that it wasn't just to prevent heat prostration, but it could improve performance dramatically. And that, I think, opened the whole door of the saleability of this product to not just hardcore athletes, but people in general. Just because when you're exercising, you lose your electrolytes through your sweat, and this is the quickest way to get it back. The combination of glucose and electrolytes with water will improve your absorption of those electrolytes, which keep you on the straight and narrow and improve performance.
Did you guys feel like you had this little secret weapon because of that?
Well, it wasn't secret on our team. It was secret to the rest of the world. My sophomore year, when I made varsity and we were playing, of course that was Spurger's senior year, his Heisman year, so that might have had a little bit to do with it. But in the third and fourth quarter, we'd walk away from teams. We were 7-0 in my sophomore year, and that was the week that Spurger was on Sports Illustrated cover. And that's also the week that the sportscasters said, we're the worst undefeated team in the nation. And they fully expected that, our mask of unbelievable performance as opposed to what they felt that we had. Our front, we did a 5-4 mostly. But we also did a 6-2 in our defensive alignment, and we averaged 196 pounds on that front six. Usually, even then, people outweighed our team considerably. Yet, scoring in that year, we had I think 265 points, and people against us had 100 points fewer than that. So it was a dramatic situation. Our defense did well. Spurrier seemed to learn as it went along, and in the third and fourth quarter, he would know how to pick a defense apart. So the two factors combined made us made us a good team, a great team. And when we went to LSU, you can imagine it was every bit as intimidating then as is now. It was a night game. We came in and they had Mike II there, their Tiger, and as we came in, the Tiger, we had to walk by the Tiger to begin with, and that was pretty intimidating. I mean, within 2 feet of this Tiger in the cage. And then when we went into the visitors' locker room, they poked the Tiger so he'd growl. And everybody's hair was standing on end the whole time we were in there. We had, of course, only 53 players on our traveling team, and they had everybody that could wear a suit on. So when they came out, they were huge. And you were waiting for the whole field to tip in their direction when they all came out. It was just they were so big and so impressive. And, of course, the stadium was wild. But we beat them 28-7. And WRUF at that time, while we were playing in LSU, they were running the Otis Boggs on the radio. And there were 15,000 people in the stadium, the Gator Stadium, at Florida Field at that time. And they had the cheerleading leading team on one team, and they had the little sisters of the fraternity on the other team, and they were running plays as Otis Boggs would explain it. Well, after the game, 15,000 students didn't have anything to do, so they almost burned down Gainesville. And I imagine that was the reason that they never repeated that deal of having a radio play the game as students were in the stadium, because they built a big fire right at University and 13th and burned all the lights out at that time. And they would not let us land because there were so many people waiting at the Gainesville airport that they made us land in Jacksonville and take a bus back. We got home at 4:00 in the morning, and there's still 10,000 people.
Chip, when you guys were drinking this beverage that fall in 1965, what did you all call the drink? What did you refer to it as during the testing?
Well, first of all, I won't give his name. He was a defensive attacker on the varsity, and he first cup he picked up, and this little Dixie cup, maybe the 5-ounce Dixie cup, and he put it in his mouth. He spat it out, and he said, "This tastes like urine." And of course, he didn't use the word urine, but anyway, we got the message, and that was, as I mentioned, was the key to them putting additional flavor into it to sort of distract from the medical part of it and make it a little bit more palatable for everyone to drink.
So when did it become Gatorade?
You want the story that Dr. Cade told? I'm sure he said that, of course, the Gator part was easy, and since we had citrus flavor in it, it was like lemonade. So they called it Gatorade. A few days ago, I was just thumbing through my notes, and I noticed that the ADE in Gatorade was 3/4 of the letters in Dr. K's last name, CADE. And I later on, my junior year, both Jackie Ekdahl and I spent 3 months with him running 7 miles a day around the field, and every quarter mile run, we'd walk the next quarter mile, and then 3 times during that, he was taking a vial of blood from us, a small vial. And I got to know him really well, and my wife got to know him even better because he was sitting sort of lounging as he was there, and he was drinking Gatorade with whatever alcoholic product that he had at that time. And this was just before Hoppin' Gator came out. He was, I think he proved to himself that it would also absorb alcohol very quickly, and he thought maybe that beverage would be very popular. It was very popular for a while until they realized there's no more alcohol in Hoppin' Gator than regular beer. So it didn't really take off beyond Gainesville for a while. But anyway, it was a real learning experience for me, and the flavor improved, and we didn't call it Gatorade until they called it Gatorade.
Okay.
I did not know of any other name.
Okay. And it took you 60 years to recognize that the ADE may have been him inserting himself into the title a little bit.
That I got to know Dr. Cade well enough to know his sense of humor, and I could just see him with say, I know something that you don't, and having the whole world think it was just totally as a result of the fact that had a citrus flavor in the original. I don't doubt in my mind, knowing him, that that's the case, but there's nobody alive that can either confirm or deny that. It's been 60 years.
Over the years, Chip, what would you think about when you would be watching a game and a Gatorade commercial would come on your television?
Yeah, you get flashbacks, and I really feel honored to have this opportunity to talk about Gatorade and to talk about Dr. Cade a little bit, because he had such a major influence on my future by teaching me about the experimental technique and having me interested in science. I know that I would not have gone to the trail that I went if it hadn't been for Dr. Cade.
As you know, there's always more to the story, and there are different benefits, obviously, from the 60-year history of Gatorade. One of the less publicized aspects of Gatorade being home at the University of Florida and its impact over the last 60 years has to do with the amount of royalties dollars that have been funneled back toward the University of Florida to benefit research and development in the science of medicine. One of those researchers who's advanced science with the help of the Gatorade royalties is Dr. Christian Jobin, Distinguished Professor of Medicine at the University of Florida. He's also a UFHCC co-leader of Immuno-Oncology and Microbiome Program at the UF Health Cancer Center, Division of Gastroenterology, Hepatology, and Nutrition. For over 12 years now, Dr. Jobin and his team in his lab have studied microbes. It's a lab that benefited from seeding money from the Gatorade royalties, and to this day continues to benefit from those royalties and funds to help further research. I'll let Dr. Jobin tell you more about the work they do.
Absolutely. So my lab is focusing on understanding how the microbes that live in and outside your body could contribute to your health. So maintaining health and how external pressures such as lifestyle, diet, stress, medication, impact that balance. And then these microbes could turn to be your worst enemy. So the enemy within, for example, it's not an infection, it's something that we carry around that may be under the influence of the environment. So we are focusing on understanding how this balance works and how we could change it to the best.
Take me back 12 or so years ago. What did you decide, or how did you decide that I need to make my life's work studying these microbes?
That's a good question. Well, 12 years ago, I moved here, but I spent 20 years in North Carolina. I always worked with microbes in terms of health. But I had the chance to move to Florida with funds coming from Gatorade. And when I saw the capacity to change my research program coming here with this Gatorade fundings, I said, let's take that step. And since then, we have expanded our research program and make new discovery that I think have the chance to impact the clinical mission in hospital.
Let's go ahead and use the word that you just mentioned, Gatorade. That's our connection, obviously, for our visit. I'm curious, Dr. Jobin, which came first, the lab and then Gatorade funding, or Gatorade funding and then, hey, I'll start this lab?
Oh, it came as a package deal. So they, the chair of medicine recruiting put this up front. They said, we could recruit you and the Gatorade funds will be used to sustain your research program. I never quite, I know Gatorade, right? Drinks, but I never made the connection that there is money coming to an institution to maintain and progress and sustain research. So that was brand new to me, and I loved the sound of that. So that's why I said, all right, let's sign this. And 12 years later, there's absolutely no regret. I expanded that program in a way that would not have been possible. It's easy to say, in hindsight 2020, but staying in North Carolina, we didn't have that type of investment. We didn't have that type of fundings available for research. So that was the best move I did.
So the Gatorade royalties were coming toward the University of Florida, which obviously supported your work. Other than the financial component, Dr. Jobin, is there any connection between Gatorade itself, the electrolyte drink, and these microbes? Or is it just the funding that has allowed us to learn more beyond the reaches of Gatorade?
That's interesting you're saying that. Well, no, the money is used to generate new ideas. So, fundings is available through government, either local or national, but they want to fund safe project that will be, 100% sure it will work. They don't take risk. Gatorade is for risk. So that's one thing. But regarding Gatorade and microbes, it's kind of interesting that there is colorectal cancer screening. You have to prep and you have to drink this massive amount of liquid that to clean up your bowel for the scoping. And some people add Gatorade to that so that it's easier to drink. And well, anything that you drink have the capacity to change your microbes. And the Gatorade connection with the bowel prep was more about taste, but I can't remember if there's a study showing that. So there may be one study actually.
If Gatorade's only connection is to help us mortals stomach that liquid that helps
I
get
know.
to
I
better
know.
health, I'm all in on that. Dr. Jobin, over the years, sometimes it seems to those of us on the outside looking in, wonder a little bit what kind of an influence a benefactor will have upon research. Has the Gatorade funding um, kept you free of any influences that would provide any bias or make you lean one way or another with your work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so, as a researcher, we're always looking for source of fundings for our research. We want to progress, we want to move research forward, and you want to have multiple approach to funding. So federal, local, private foundation, even companies. Companies could fund your research. The problem is the strings attached. They want to see the data up front. They may have a veto power on the publication aspect of it. Gatorade is free of any restraint, any control over what you do. It's pure freedom. Obviously, you have to report yearly. I have to report progress on the funds that I use for my research. What did you do? Is it worth it to keep that money in your lab, or you're just sitting there and not moving forward? So there is some accountability about the spending, but there's no interference into what I want to do. No one's going to tell me I don't think Gatorade should be used for that. So it's really at the discretion of the investigator, and you need to move the ball forward. You need to push the boundary of discovery forward to get to the ultimate goal, which for me, translational medicine is to bring new medicine to patients. So that's the long view that I have.
Christian, when we talk about the cost, the numbers, right? So I'm a sports guy, so I like scoreboards, I like numbers. When we talk about the type of work that you do, are you able to share what kind of a cost that is, and how much has Gatorade or the royalties that have come from that program helped offset that? Was it just seed money? Is it a significant part of it?
Yeah.
You can share.
Yeah, no, I could. I mean, yes. So when I was recruited, there were a fixed amount for a fixed amount of time. So 5 years, X amount of money. So that I could use to pay part of my salary, part of people's salaries and new things I wanted to do. And that expanded later with a retention fund. So they jacked up the amount. So I will say over the course of the 12 years I've been here, we are north of $3 to $4 million. I use this money, it comes every year, and I use a fraction of it to explore a new research avenue. We could build a new project line out of nothing. I use this money, bring it to crystal clear, project so that I could get fundings through the traditional way, which is federal funds. I could get $3 million for the government. So I'm leverage my investment with new money coming in from the government. And this money, part of that money, which we call overhead, goes back to the university. So they get their share back of the investment. And me, as I'm discovering new things, I could start new compound, new discovery, licensing, startup company, try to generate money. So the impact is pretty wide. So I think the investment it did so far. I'm biased, obviously, but I got some of that money back through the overhead that is shooting back to university, and I generate IP, intellectual property, that the university could shop around and license and make money that way.
Oh, okay. So there are different ways to quantify, I guess, the
Yes,
result of the research and then the funding that goes into that research.
right. We call that return on investment, but they don't. I'm not metric to that. They don't say, hey, you don't have a good return on investment. It's very, you know, yes. Do you publish? Do you train people? Do you generate or get new PhD graduated from University of Florida? Do you discover new things? And so there's multiple metrics, but no one is checking and then say, oh, it's not good enough. It's more like overall. There is a money metric, there is a human metrics, and there is the collectivity of it. But Gatorade, for sure, without that money, there will have been a big void in my research program.
60 years ago, when Dr. Cade invented this electrolyte drink, right, in order to serve athletes as a rehydrating compound, if you will, albeit in a liquid form.
Right.
Dr. Jobin, do you think that Dr. Cade could have in any way envisioned that 60 years later, you and I would be having a conversation about your research and your study of microbes as it relates to a thing he called Gatorade?
It's an amazing journey. You look back, the impact that man had, and you see it through the family. Phoebe, invested and put together this Cade museum here, and spreading the gospel of the importance of science in society. Uh, this vision. I don't sure if you had this vision, you probably had a lot of conversation with the kids. What will be most impactful with this money? And you love UF, obviously. There were a little bit of a dispute, but it went well at the end of the day. And some of that money, probably as a scientist and a physician, could see that they will impact, and that's probably the way that impact. I'm not sure if you could predict that, but an impact for sure. And for me, looking at that, when I talked to my family back in Canada, Gatorade research, what? And your Gatorade trust professor. Yeah, so there is something here that is mind-boggling to me, coming from Canada, and see how much of that man, through his creation, has changed the landscape of research and obviously sports in some ways, right?
If we look through that lens, right, and we see that Dr. Cade's vision achieved a certain goal and then went well beyond. If you, Dr. Jobin, could get outside of the scientific method just for a moment and dream a little with me, think of your work, what you've accomplished already, and if you could dream a little bit, where could it go?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we have created new knowledge that we think we could translate into medicine. So, that is crazy. We move from fecal material from patients that have a good outcome with specific drugs, and then extract the magic bacteria that is producing that compound. And now we could start a company, and this company, who knows what's going to be the end result of that, but that company could create a new molecule to help patients achieve a best responsiveness to anti-tumor drugs, for example. So this is a very long line from the discovery in the lab, pass it through a company that develop it. So translational, medicinal property of microbes going into the street, into the clinic, into hospital. That's the vision we have in the lab, and I think it's a very long view. It needs a lot of investment, but without something like Gatorade, would not have been able to do that. And I'm so grateful for this chances to have access to that investment.
What an amazing story. And to think that you yourself are now an integral piece of this 60-year history. Um,
Absolutely.
there must be some kind of pride there, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like coming from Canada and how spending so much time, 32 years in US, been recruited many times back home with family, and there is this pull to go back to family. At the same time, spending so much more than a quarter of a century here in the US and contributing to improving the quality of life of American through a very American product, Gatorade, is like it's like an anchor for me. I mean, I cannot, it's not about betraying, but I cannot walk away from such a mission that using a product like Gatorade or the proceed of Gatorade to move research forward. I will not be able to do anything similar to that in Canada. So that's another magnet coming from the Gatorade funds. It anchors you to the location, right?
I think I will leave the study of microbes to you, but I want to promise you one thing. I'll raise a glass of Gatorade this month of October and toast your work on microbes and the link between you and Dr. Cade. Cheers to that.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So there you have it. As promised, a very unique episode number 52 of the Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley. It's one of those podcasts where I didn't quite know where it would go when we started this project, but I certainly learned a lot on the other side. And of course, happy 60th to Gatorade. Big thanks, of course, to my guests, Dr. Chip Hinton and Dr. Christian Jobin. Thanks to Steve McLean as well for his research and guidance through this process. And as always, much gratitude to our presenting sponsor, UF Health. For more information about the 60th anniversary celebration of Gatorade, go to floridagators.com. I'm Sean Kelley. Until next time, so long for just a while, and as always, go Gators!